Hi, welcome back to Taji's World of Books, and this is my weekly reading wrap-up. Hi everybody, welcome back to my weekly reading wrap-up, and this is where I talk about all the books that I read through the course of this week. I basically read two different series. I finished up S.E. Stevens' Thoughtless series, and I made some clips on that. And then after I finished S.E. Stevens' Thoughtless, I then moved into Jacquelyn Frank's The Nightwalker series. So I have a couple clips that I pre-filmed to talk about my thoughts on those, so I'm going to insert those here. Hi everybody, so I'm here to do another clip. I've been doing clips as I read things, and I wanted to go ahead and jump on here today and do another clip for you guys. I'm doing this in the morning, so I gotta get my coffee going. That's hot. Okay, so you guys, I just have to go back. I already did a clip on this. I filmed it a little bit earlier in the week, but I've talked about Thoughtless. I absolutely love this book. It broke my heart apart and put it back together and then broke it again. It is the story of love, lies, deception, honesty, friendship, being true to yourself, facing adversity and standing up, doing the hard thing, doing the right thing. When you're in a love triangle and you have to do what's right, but it's so very hard because everybody's going to be hurt, it just is, oh my God, it's so much. I cannot say how much I love this book. I'm almost like I'm going to cry because I love this book so much because I understand it. I understand when when you're afraid, when you're so afraid to do the right thing, but you know that you have to, but you know that it's going to break everybody apart, even yourself. That's not an easy thing to do. And the fact that she did this so well in this book really speaks to her ability to write. And the fact that, like, you question, like, is this a real story? Did this happen to her? She did her job well. I have to say, this is one of the best books that I've ever read. I really loved it. And then, I got emotional. And then, I talked about this before, Thoughtful. It's Kellen's perspective, and you need to hear his perspective to really fully understand the story. And when you hear Kellen's perspective and you hear how much he loves Kira and how much he needs to be loved based on everything that he's gone through, it's so, I mean, this book delivered in so many ways. This, I think, author really is stepping up to be one of my, like, absolute favorites. Effortless is the second book in the Thoughtless trilogy. Well, it's more than a trilogy because it's 5 books in the series by S.E. Stevens. And this is Kiara and Kellen's story. And I think it's a wrap-up. Well, it's not a wrap-up. It's more like the next stage of the relationship between Kira and Kellen. And it's really about whether or not Kira can demonstrate that she has learned from her mistakes, and she can be mature, and she can get her anxiety under control, not be so anxious, not be so self-conscious, not worry so much about what other people think, and rather focus on what she needs and what's good for her. And if her and Kellen's relationship can overcome the challenges that they were plagued with early on just by her not being truthful and honest and upfront about what's going on with her and her thoughts. And so it should be effortless because they are so much, they love each other so much that the relationship should be effortless, and it's not. It's riddled with conflict and challenges and difficulties. And this book, again, is so good. Like, S.E. Stevens knows what readers want, and she delivers it because she gives you an angsty, passion-filled, tentative, unsure love story between two broken characters. Kellen, because of everything that he experienced in his past, is incredibly unsure and needs lots of reassurance because he was so rejected and not accepted. And Kiera, because of her naivety and her youth and her inexperience, doesn't trust herself and is not confident enough to be able to ask for what she wants and demand what she wants. And so what happens is that they grow together, right? Like they challenge each other and they push and stretch, and the relationship demands that they come together. There are several misunderstandings and miscommunications that have to be worked through. And yet again, she delivers, S.E. Stevens delivers in the sense that she rips you apart, just like the relationship, and she puts you back together. And so I have to say, this is a 5 out of 5 star. This whole series, I think, is going to rank up there with me with some of my other beloved favorites. And one of the videos that I'm going to film in a little bit is like, if you like this, then you would like that. Because I think, more people need to be talking about this, and more people need to be reading this. And I have to say, it reminds me sort of a rock star romance. It is a rock star romance. I have never read many rock star romances outside of the Morgan Brothers series, the last book, Rockstar, so that sort of reminds me of the challenges. But I have to say, I really like the genre, so I might stick with it and might check out some other Rockstar romances. So that's what I have to say about this. So now we're going to head back to the rest of the clip. And then the last 2 books in the installment, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's like, does fame and fortune pull us apart? Once we've worked so hard to get here, where do we go from here? And what does our relationship look like? And how do we move into adulthood and into fame and into fortune and into being a rock star and in the music industry, and what that's like? And am I mature enough to be able to handle that? And what does that mean for me as an individual, me as a partner, me as a bandmate? Like, what is that all about? And I absolutely loved this book. Was a 5 out of 5 star. The whole series is a 5 out of 5 star for me. I absolutely loved it. Kiera, despite, usually heroines get on my nerves, right? Like Feyre, gets on my nerves sometimes. Kiera didn't, and I don't, maybe because I put her in the box of her age, right? I was like, it's, for me, I understand that you're struggling and you're having a hard time being honest and being true and being secure, right? And I've dealt with anxiety, right? And I've dealt with feeling insecure and not trusting my opinion and not trusting that I'm enough and not trusting in myself. And I guess I relate and identify with Kiera in that. And the fact that Kellen just holds her up in so many ways and ensures that she knows that he loves her and ensures that she knows that he's by her side. Kellen is when you talk about the ideal book boyfriend, Kellen is there in spades in so many ways, because he's subtle but there. He's aggressive but not too much. He's everything and then some, and a bag of chips and more. I love him. I love him. I love him so much, and they did such a good job. And then the final story in this series is Griffin's story. Now, Untamed, I didn't know how I was going to feel, because Griffin can be a lot. Griffin is a lot. But I understood Griffin. I understood Griffin in the sense that he's a narcissist, and he's overzealous and overconfident, but the arc that Griffin goes through, from being high up to being low to being right where he needed to be, Griffin needed to grow, and Griffin needed to be honest and step up and recognize hard work and do what he needed to do, rather than have a chip on his shoulder. So this is about he's a chip on his shoulder. He feels like he's not being accepted and acknowledged, and the hard work and the dedication and everything that he's done is not acknowledged. And so he's going to go out and he's going to get what he deserves. And does he? And I love that they tell a parable in the story that the dog that has a steak in his mouth is looking into the river, and he sees the steak that's in the river is bigger than the steak he has in his mouth. And so he's like, I'm going to let the steak in my mouth go, because I'm going to get the one that's in the river. only to find out the one that's in the river is non-existent. It's an illusion. And what is he willing to do? And can he break through his own narcissism, his own anger, his own resentment, his own feeling like I'm being used and abused, and does he lose everything, and is he able to gain it back? And what is everything? Is everything fame and fortune and money and houses and cars, or is it your family, your friends, the people that love you? Like, what is more important? And he had to go through a tremendous arc in order to understand what he had, so that did he lose it, or could he get it back? Like, what is that? And so that was the last of the series. And I have to say that when I finished this entire series, I knocked myself out. This entire series, I cannot stop thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop researching it. I can't stop trying to find out more about the author, trying to find out more if there's going to be more in the series. This series is a 5 out of 5 star. If you have not read this entire series, read it in the order that I'm showing you, because that makes the most sense. The author has said that she is considering writing other books in the series from, maybe others from Kellen's perspective, maybe some from the other bandmate like Matt or Evan. I would love if she did that. I sent her an email. I'm kooky. I'm sorry. I was like, girl, listen, this series is amazing. It was like 2015 since you put out the last thing. Like, we got to get going. I was like, can we do a reunion tour? She's probably like, who is this chick? Who is this chick emailing me, saying, okay, so I think we need to do a comeback reunion tour, 20-year reunion, whatever. So I don't know, if she's going to listen or not. And, that would be kind of a cool concept. But I would love to hear more about what's going on with them and, and their kids. And I just loved it. I just loved it so much. And I'm gushing because it's amazing and you should check it out. Okay, the next series that I started, and you guys have asked me to do a vampire book recommendation, so I wanted to do this or that, and I have already a series that I think is a great representation of paranormal and vampire, but somebody else, I was listening, that's what it was, I was listening to a vlog by Bree in Love and Words, and she recommended Jacquelyn Frank, and I hadn't heard anybody talk about Jacquelyn Frank, so I was like, oh. And she talked about Jacob, this book, and about the meet cute in this book, in which Jacob is walking on the street basically, and he sees this woman sitting in Bella. He sees her sitting in a window, and he basically she's hanging out the window, and he's he's 6 stories down. And he says, you better be careful. What are you doing? You're going to fall. And she's in her mind, she hears him very clearly. And she's like, what? She's kind of being cutesy. And she's like, I'm not going to fall. And he's like, you might, you better be careful. And so they're bantering back and forth. And lo and behold, what happens? She falls. He catches her. And, he basically, that catch is the beginning of the rest of their life in terms of things are transitioning and changing. So when Bree talked about it, I was like, girl, sign me up. So I was went ahead and got them. And the first book in the series is Jacob. And, I feel like this is an older paranormal romance. It's it was written in 2005, I think. Yeah, it's 2005, something like that. So it's written a little bit differently. Yeah, 2006. So it's written a little bit differently. So the story is that there are Nightwalkers. And within the Nightwalker world, right, consist lycanthropes, vampires, demons. And that's all I remember right now. So those are all considered Nightwalkers, right? Shapeshifters, werewolf, they're all part of the Nightwalkers. So Jacob and his particular sect of Nightwalkers are demons. And so Jacob is an enforcer, and his job, the demons, basically, think of from J.R. Ward's The Glymera, if you think of Anne Rice's vampires, they are a very elite society. They have royals. They have rules. They are very sophisticated and very you have a very clear guidelines in terms of what is acceptable within demon society and what is not. Like, so for example, when you get together, like let's say I'm a demon and I have a demon mate, and so there are fated mates. So I have a mate and we have children. When we reach a certain, so in the demon world, there are elemental demons. So there are earth demons, there are fire demons, there are water demons, there are mind demons, there are body demons. So there are all different types of demons, and each of those demons have different types of powers. And so as a result of those powers, like you control that element. So Jacob is a earth demon, so he is very powerful in that in the earth realm, and like he can like make earthquakes happen and so on and so forth. So because they have these powers, when they reach a certain age, they then are sent to live with a relative. And that relative, and I forget the term that they use for that relative, but that relative is the one who like takes care of them and basically ensures that they are trained properly, because these powers can get very out of control very, very quickly. And so you need to have somebody who loves you, but who can be a bit firmer with you, because demon like will love their children and let them become a bit spoiled. And so there's very clear guidelines in this society. Okay, so anyway, so Jacob is an earth demon. He's an enforcer. So he enforces all the laws in their society, and the laws are meant to be followed. And one of the laws is that we do not fraternize, and we do not cavort with humans, and we do not have sexual relationships with humans, because a sexual relationship with a human can be very, very deadly and very damaging and could kill a human. And so that's not allowed. And so when it happens, it has to be punished severely. So the book starts off with his brother Cain, who has fixated on a female human with red curly hair, and he is like going after her, and Jacob has to reprimand him because he's like, absolutely not, this is not allowed. And then, you know, a few days later, in comes his meet cute with Isabella, and he meets Isabella. And so the story then unfolds, and so as is the case with these types of books, each individual book follows a different character, but there is a backstory and an ongoing plot where there is a war between the demons and the necromancers, that if the necromancer has the demon's name, the real name of the demon that nobody knows except their parents, if they have that real name, they can summon them. And when they summon them, they then turn them into this perverted, disgusting creature that is mindless and that ultimately has to be killed. And this story is so cute and so amazing, and I love the backstory, and Jacob and Isabella's story is beautiful. It is sweet. It is thrilling, exciting, fast-paced. You know, it just, and then what I love about these books is that when Jacob's book ends, and then we go into the next book, which is Gideon, and Gideon is the healer, basically, and Gideon is one of the oldest demons in this society, and Gideon has been ostracized because of his fixation on a human that he had centuries before, so he ostracized himself. And so in Gideon, you see Jacob, and you see and Isabella, and you see their story, and you see all the other characters that are being introduced, and they're working towards fighting the necromancers. There's a demon faction that's turned against the demon culture, and so they're trying to figure out who is deceiving them. They're working with Noah, who is the king, and Noah's book is next. And so there's all these like parallel things that are going on. And these are 4 out of 5 star for me. They're not 5, they're 4 out of 5. I love them. Maybe because I'm still kind of stuck in Effortless and I'm having trouble letting go of that world. But Gideon is his meet cute, and his counterpart is Magdalena, and they call her Lena. And so, again, you know, he's older and she is a fledgling and she's younger, so this is definitely an age gap. You know, it's forbidden in the sense that this is a forbidden romance for sure, because Isabella is human. And so Jacob is cavorting with a a human, and in Gideon, this is an age gap romance, but it all comes together. All the characters are working together. They're friends. You're seeing them all, so you get to see cameos for each of your characters, and you get to hear what's happening with them and how their story ends and how it begins for the next. And they set up at the end of this book Elijah, which is the book that I'm starting now, and what's happening in Elijah's book, and I think I know because I've seen some hints in Gideon's book. So these are, and then you also see the vampire Damien that's in here as well. So you're getting all of the night creatures in these books, and this is Jacquelyn Frank, and like I said, it's a 4 out of 5 star. You can tell that it's written, you know, in the early 2000s kind of situation, but it's actually really good. And so I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to go to the next clip, and I'll probably continue on with Elijah and the other books that I have gotten through for the rest of the week. Okay, I'll see you over there. So now that you've seen my initial thoughts on Thoughtless, which was amazing, and I've talked about some of the Nightwalkers, I then went ahead and read. So for me, the Nightwalker series, as I have progressed in the series, they get better and better for me. So these last 3 books I'm going to talk about in the main sort of setup of the series are the best for me. And so Elijah is, he's part of the Nightwalkers. He's a demon. Remember, in the Nightwalkers, you've got demons, vampires, lycanthropes, and shadow dwellers, and they're all considered Nightwalkers. And this is Elijah's story with the lycanthrope queen Sienna. And I love it because it's a forbidden romance in the sense that the two should not meet, should not get together. It's forbidden. And it's also an enemies to lovers type situation where Sienna is forced to face some fears that she has. She's not willing to, she's only supposed to take, it's a fated mate, she's only supposed to take one mate. And if she accepts this thing that's going on between her and Elijah, then she has to acknowledge to her people whom she's supposed to be ruling, you know, they were in a war with the demons for like over 300 years. And now all of a sudden they're supposed to accept them and to, you know, be open to this mating and this union. And what is that going to be like? And so she has to come to terms with not only her heart and whether or not she's willing to accept this mating, but, you know, with Elijah, but are her people going to accept him as well? Because Elijah is a captain in the demon army, and so was also known as the butcher of their people. So during the war, he did most of the killings of the lycanthropes. So it's really complicated, and they work through it really well. And there's a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and a lot of angst, but they get through it and they figure it out. And so I love stories where the two characters have to work for it, you know, like it doesn't come easy to them. It's not insta-lovey, but rather they have to put some effort into that. And so this book delivered it. So far, the whole series is a 4 out of 5 star for me, except for the last book, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So that's Elijah. Then we moved into Damien. I loved Damien's story because Damien is the prince of the vampires, and he is one of the oldest and strongest vampires in the series. And he has lived by himself. He has a long-term companion named Jasmine, and he and Jasmine are, you know, Damien has been friends with the other Nightwalker courts, the demons, the lycanthropes, so he's well-known, well-respected, and he then develops something with Cyrena, and Cyrena is Sienna, the queen of the lycanthrope's sister. So Cyrena is a princess in her own right. So you have Princess Cyrena and then Prince Damien. And again, this is them trying to sort through and accept this odd union. You know, what does it mean for us and our peoples? Do I have to give up my position? What am I willing to give up? Am I, you know, here for it? Am I willing to acknowledge what I'm feeling and to be honest both with myself and with you? And I love it. Damien's like, little girl, like, look, I'm not going to, like, I told you how I feel. I'm going to put it out there, and either you're here with it for me and with me, or I'm going to move on. And she can't make up her mind. So she's back and forth, trying to figure it out. Damien's like, figure it out. And as he's letting her figure it out, Jasmine gets really upset because Jasmine sees the pain that he's going through while he's waiting for her to get it sorted out. And so Jasmine then gets her back up, and she feels a certain kind of way about Cyrena. And remember, in the backstory, we've got all of these necromancers that are of the human world that feel like it's their job and duty to rid the world of the Nightwalker race. So they are trying to discover the names, the true names of the demons, so that they can call them up into a pentacle and destroy them and turn them into this like really wretched creature. And they also are trying to destroy, you know, Damien's people, the vampires as well. So that backstory is going on. And then also you're starting to see, like, as these fated mate situations are happening where different breeds are sort of coming together, then that means a strengthening of their own individual power, and they're awakening these age-old sort of mythos that have been long since dead and are now arising again and coming up. And so it's really cool, the backstory. And so Damien was like a 4.5. Like, it's starting to get really, really good, and I really appreciated this and loved this story. And then we get into the piece de résistance. This is Noah's story, and Noah is the king of the demons, and we have waited, you know, all the books to get to this, to get to Noah's story, and Noah has to go through it. Noah has been dreaming of this woman whose hair looks like spun cotton candy, and she reminds him, he's like, not only does her hair look like it, but she smells like it and she tastes like it, and he like just knows that this is his fated mate. And in one of the earlier books, Jacob's brother is named Cain, and Cain's mate is Corinne, who is Jacob's mate's sister. So sisters and sister-in-laws. Okay, so Corinne, when she comes into her power, we learn that her power is to help people find their fated mates. So he elicits Corinne to help him find this woman that he's been dreaming of for 6 months. And really, it's their story of love and loss and trauma and duty and honor and respect and all of the things that, you know, we expect in a really painstaking love story. And it truly is a love story, because it's about the love of his people, the love of his friends, the things that you will do for your loved one. Will you betray the people whom have become your insta family? And it's just so heartbreaking and so beautiful in the way she did it. And I don't know if it's her writing style gets better, or I am more familiar with her writing style, and so therefore I love the story more. But I can tell you that I was riveted from page 1 and felt really invested in the characters. And then behind the scenes, in this book, we don't hear much about the necromancers, but we do hear a lot about the other vampires who have since learned from Damien's book that if you drink the blood of your partner, whom is another species, you take on their power as well. So now you have this rogue element of vampires who are stepping up and doing all these naughty things, like killing other shadow Nightwalkers so that they can steal their power. So now we have a building up, like where the story hasn't ended. It's building up to the next books in the series. And so the way that Jacquelyn in her website recommends is that you read all the main books, which are the guys' names, and I think that that sets the foundation of the world. And now I'm going to move into Ecstasy and Pleasure and some of those other books, and I think that that moves into the Shadow Dweller realm, and it blends the Nightwalkers with the Shadow Dwellers, so I'll have to see where that goes. So that'll go into my weekly reading wrap-ups next week. But I just want to really quickly go through my order of the books from my least, how should we do it? Least favorite to most, or most favorite? Let's go least favorite. This was my least favorite. This was like a 3.75 for me, Jacob. Then I would say Gideon is like a 4-star for me. I would have to say that these are both 4-star. They're both equal to me in terms of like what I like them, my like rating of them. And then ultimately this is a 5-star for me. And this was like the most, I enjoyed this one the most. Okay, so this video is super long because I got all these clips and all these things to say. So thank you so much for hanging in there. And those are all the books that I read this week. And I hope that there's something in there for you that you'll appreciate and you'll enjoy and you will check out. And you guys know I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I ask that you please like and subscribe to this channel. And then don't forget to click that bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. And I want you guys to come and hang out with me and talk about books and share your interest and share with me some content areas that you guys want me to do. And I will be sure to add that to the channel. So I thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Bye!